indicate on the diagram with a B. Where did those go?
He carried him.
The defendant carried them?
Yeah.
Nothing further?
Mr. Shapiro, did you wish to cross-examine at this time? All right.
Morning, Mr. Park.
Good morning.
Mr. Park, you understand the serious nature.
Objection, Your Honor.
The legal grounds for your objection?
It's argumentative.
I haven't yet even heard the entire question. Do you want to finish your question, Mr. Shapiro?
Yes, I would like to. Do you understand the serious nature for which you're testifying here today?
Objection, Your Honor.
And your objection is this argumentative?
Yes, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Why would Mr. Shapiro assume that he does not understand the seriousness of the charges? There's been no indication of that.
You can answer the question. Sir?
I don't understand what you mean. The serious of me testifying?
Do you know what this matter concerns your testimony?
Oh, yes.
What does it concern?
It concerns a murder trial.
And therefore, you want to be very careful in your testimony to make sure you don't make any errors. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you want to be very sure every time you testified under oath that you would not make any errors. Is that correct?
Same objection, Your Honor. I think no other witness has been subjected to this kind of intimidation. I think this is highly inappropriate. There's been no reason to indicate that this witness does not take his oath very seriously and is testifying as accurately as he can.
The objection's overruled.
You may answer the question, sir.
Can you repeat it?
You understand that when you testify under oath, that there is an obligation to tell the truth.
Yes.
Have you done so?
Yes.
How many times have you testified under oath regarding the subject matter that you testified here today to?
Once.
Once before or only once?
I don't understand the nature of the question.
How many times have you testified under oath the subject matter that you testified to in court today?
One time.
And that was when?
At the grand jury.
And you also testified today?
Yes.
That's be twice.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Correct.
And before the grand jury, you were under oath, were you not?
Yes, I was.
And that was on June 21st, about a week ago. Is that correct?
Correct.
And when you testified there, was your memory as to the events that you saw at the Simpson residence better than it was today?
I'd say it's the same.
Did you testify on page 257, line 11, in regard to the individual you described as a male or female today? And just seconds after that, I saw a black male, 6'1", 100 and 200 pounds, come from the area that I saw him from was about. Did you give that testimony to the grand jury, sir?
If it's there, I did.
Do you recall giving that testimony to the grand jury?
Yes, I do.
And was that discrepancy called to your attention by anyone before you testified today?
I don't understand what you're...
Has anyone pointed out to you before you testified that before the grand jury you said it was a male, black, and that today you gave testimony that it was either a male or a female, you couldn't tell which?
Objection, Your Honor. Nobody's had a chance to point anything out to him. He only just said it today.
The objection is overruled.
The only thing that I can say here is that the person that I described is 6 foot, 200 pounds. It just seems to be a pretty big female.
That wasn't my question, sir. Did anyone discuss with you the fact that you might have, on another occasion, said it was either a male or female, you couldn't tell which?
Yes.
Who pointed that out to you?
Who pointed what out?
You testified at the grand jury that it was a male black. Is that correct?
Yes.
You testified here today that it was a male or female, you couldn't tell which. Is that correct?
Yes.
Prior to your testimony today, has anyone pointed out that there may be a discrepancy in the testimony that you gave at the grand jury and the testimony that you were going to give today?
No.
You ever described the person as 6 feet, 180 pounds?
Not that I remember.
Did you ever describe the other individual as 5'10", 160 pounds?
I could have.
Did you ever describe Mr. Simpson as coming out of the house wearing a black overcoat?
Yes, I do.
Date at the time.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
I remember him wearing some kind of a coat.
Did you ever tell anyone that the person came out was wearing an overcoat, a black overcoat?
Yes, I did.
Why didn't you say that when Miss Clark asked you how the man was dressed this morning?
I guess I just didn't give full detail.
Did you say that to the grand jury that the man was wearing an overcoat?
I don't remember.
Did you read your grand jury testimony?
No, I
before you
didn't.
Testified here.
No, I didn't.
Was it shown to you by anyone?
No, it wasn't.
Did you discuss your testimony before you testified here today with anyone?
Yes, my mom.
Other than your mother, did you discuss it with anyone else?
My boss,
Other than who's your boss?
Dale St. John of Town and Country Limo.
When did you discuss it with him?
Days after.
And when did you discuss it with your mother?
Just a few days after.
Have you discussed it with anyone else?
The police.
How many times did you discuss it with the police?
I was interviewed once, but there was phone calls for other questions here and there.
Did you receive the phone calls first or the interview first?
Well, they called me and just asked me to come down.
So you didn't discuss anything on the phone?
No.
Do you recall what date you went down?
The 15th of,
Where did you go?
to the Harbor District, the police department there in San Pedro.
What time did you arrive?
9:30, 9 o'clock.
To whom did you speak?
To Paul Tippin and Brian Carr.
How long did you speak with them?
2 hours.
Was that interview tape recorded?
Not that I know of.
Did they did they take notes of your conversation?
Yes, they did.
Did they reduce those notes to a report that you know of?
No.
Did they ever have you sign a statement or a report?
No.
Did you meet with them again that day?
No, I didn't.
Did you meet with any other detectives that day?
No.
Is that the only time you've ever met with detectives?
I met him after that.
When did you meet after that?
They were at the grand jury.
Did they take your statement at the grand jury?
No, they didn't.
So you just saw them casually at the grand jury?
Yes.
So as far as formal statement interviews to any law enforcement officer whatsoever, you've only given one, and that was on the 15th,
Yes.
for 2 hours.
About.
Was it before or after that you talked to your mother?
It was before.
How much before?
Tuesday.
What time did you talk to your mother?
After I She was there when I was talking over the phone with Mr. Simpson's lawyers.
When did you talk to Mr. Simpson's lawyers?
The 14th, I believe.
And was that in the evening?
It was towards the evening, yes.
And did you place the phone call?
Yes, I called them.
And did you call an office known as Leroy Taft's office?
So I don't know what office it was. I just called the phone number.
Did you speak to two people who identified themselves as lawyers there?
Yes.
Was one Mr. Leroy Taft? Or identifying himself as Leroy Taft?
Leroy Taft? That
Skip
name?
Taft?
Skip Taft. That rings a bell.
Did the other identify himself as Robert Shapiro?
I think it was just Bob.
And was this on a speakerphone?
Yes, it was.
And at this time, your mother was listening?
She was sitting next to me, yes.
And this is the first time you gave any statement to anyone regarding this incident, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
How long was that statement?
Half an hour? I don't know.
Have you ever heard any recording of that statement?
Have I?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
When did you hear that?
Last Friday.
Where did you hear that?
Upstairs.
Who played it for you?
The district attorney.
And was it at that time that you realized you made the statement, I couldn't tell whether it was a male or female?
Yes, I heard that.
And did anybody point out at that point in time that when you told the grand jury you said it was a male?
No.
Did anyone ask you if there were any discrepancies in your testimony or in your statement that you gave to myself and Mr. Taft?
No.
At that time, did you tell Mr. Taft and myself that you couldn't tell whether or not that person could have been O.J. Simpson?
Repeat that?
Did you tell Mr. Taft and myself that during the conversation on the 14th that the person that walked into the house in dark clothing was somebody you couldn't tell whether or not it was O.J. Simpson?
Yes.
And did you tell us that evening that after you buzzed the intercom about 2 minutes later, Mr. Simpson came on?
I don't recall.
And that you could recognize Mr. Simpson's voice?
Yes, I could recognize his voice.
And you asked him at that time, you told him at that time that you were there, and he said, I've been here for a few minutes?
No.
You never said that?
No.
Did you ever say that, I've been here for a few minutes?
I told the white male at the home.
It was at that time that we asked you how Mr. Simpson was dressed when he came out. You said he was wearing blue jeans, a white shirt, and another kind of overcoat, a black overcoat?
Yes.
All that? Was that a heavy overcoat?
No.
Did you know he was going to Chicago?
Yes.
Did you know what the weather was like in Chicago?
I have no idea.
How do you know what the weight of the overcoat was?
The weight?
Yeah.
It just looked thin.
Did you ever carry it?
No.
Did you ever try it on?
No.
Do you know what material it was made of?
Couldn't tell you.
Do you know if it had a lining?
No.
Did you tell us that when you pulled in, he already had a couple of bags on the porch?
Yes.
They went over to his cars and got another bag?
Yes.
Did you see Mr. Simpson walk in and out of the house at all?
He walked in a couple times.
How many times?
2 or 3.
Other than carrying his bags or luggage out, did you see him carrying anything else out of the house?
No.
Now, did you put Mr. Simpson's bags in the trunk?
Some.
How many did you put in?
From what I can remember, 3.
What about the golf bag? Where did the golf bag end up?
In the trunk.
Who put it there?
I can't remember if it was the white male or Mr. Simpson.
Now, when I asked you about the person that was coming in and out of the house, did you say the following? I'm going to say he was a good 6'1", 180 pounds. Did you say that?
I could have.
What time did you tell us you left Mr. Simpson's house for the airport?
Time I left, 11:15.
Is that what you told us?
I can't remember.
Yeah. Could you have told us a different time?
Could have. It would have been right around there.
Would have been earlier or later?
Could have been either one. I don't know.
You're not sure these times, are you?
I don't know what I told you. I know what time I left. It had to have been right around 11:15, 10 after 11.
Well, you wouldn't lie to me when I talked to you, would you?
No.
Objection. Objection, that was argumentative, Your Honor.
Sustained.
What time did you arrive at the airport?
About 11:35.
Now, by judging these times, when did the times become important to you?
When did they become important? They weren't important to me at the night. But I just kind of on a schedule, so I do remember times.
And what were you using to gauge the time?
My watch,
What kind of watch do you wear?
a wristwatch.
Well, can you describe it a little better than that?
It's
Is it an automatic watch, a wind-up watch?
It's got a battery. It's not wind up. It's got hands on it.
Are you wearing that watch right now? Excuse me. Are you
Yes.
wearing the watch now? You were looking at your wrist.
Yes.
You want to just hold that up, maybe? All right. He's wearing on the left wrist a wristwatch or something.
When's the last time you checked that watch with some official time?
I look at clocks all the time. It seems to be okay to me.
Same clock at the same time as in the
Mhm.
courtroom now?
Yes.
What time does your clock show?
It says about 16 after 10.
You remember when the last time you set that watch was?
Last time I said it,
Yeah.
I just said it on the 1st.
Because you changed the dates, right?
Yes.
And you don't recall when you set it prior to that, do you?
No.
You testified that you've been working for Town and Country Limousine for the last 2.5 months.
2.5, 3 months, yes.
Did you tell us you've been working there for 5 months?
Not that I remember. I might have said I've been driving limos for 5 months.
And is that the case?
Yes.
Do you work for any other limousine company?
I didn't work for a company. I just worked for a private owner.
How long have you worked for that person?
It was about 2 months, 2.5 months.
And then you got the job for Town and Country?
Yes.
Was that a full-time job at the time?
No. No.
Did you have any scheduled hours that you worked?
Nope.
When did you first receive notification that you were going to have a pickup at O.J. Simpson's house?
It had to have been sometime in the morning, 10, 11 o'clock.
Where did you receive that notification?
From my boss. He lives across the street.
Did he just walk over, or did he call you?
I can't remember if he came over or called.
And what did he tell you?
He told me I had to pick up at 7 o'clock earlier in the night at LAX, picking up a couple clients and taking them to Beverly Hills. And then he told me I had to pick up at 10:45 at Mr. Simpson's house.
Where did you start for your 7 o'clock pickup at LAX?
Where'd I start?
Where'd you leave from?
From his house in Torrance.
So he has his cars at his house?
Yes,
And what type of vehicle were you driving?
a Lincoln Town Car.
What is the size of that car?
It's a stretch. I don't know what the length of it is.
Do you know if stretches come in different lengths?
Yes, they do.
And you don't know what the length of this car is?
No.
What time did you leave for the airport for that pickup?
To the airport?
Yes.
6. We got a phone call, which we found out the plane was coming in early. The pickup was at 7 o'clock, and we found out they were coming in at 6:30, so I left at about 6 o'clock.
What airlines did you go to for the pickup?
It was British Airways or something like that.
Or something like that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Not positive.
What was the flight number?
I don't remember this stuff.
What was the name of the parties you were picking up?
It was Bill Taylor and another person,
What was the other person's name?
Keith something.
Don't remember the last name of Keith?
No, he wasn't important. He was just with Bill Taylor.
What time did you pick up their luggage? At the airport?
No, they just carried it off. It's just a
Did they
short.
carry on?
Yeah.
How many bags did each of them have?
Bill Taylor had 2, and the other guy had 1.
Would you describe those bags, please?
I don't know. I wasn't looking at them. I never handled them.
Where did you first see them?
The bags are him, the people,
Both.
getting off the flight.
Were you at the
I was at the gate.
gate? Did you have a sign up to their names?
Yes, I did.
And the people came up to you?
Yes.
So you saw them carrying bags?
Yes.
Would you describe the bags they were carrying?
Objection, asked and answered.
Sustained.
They carried their own bags to your limousine?
I wasn't driving the limousine at that time.
Who was driving the limousine?
I was in a... I had to make a switch. I was in a town car, just a regular town car.
What kind of car were you driving?
Lincoln town car,
What color?
white.
And where did you put the bags that these two gentlemen had?
I popped the trunk and they put them in there.
They put them in.
Yeah.
Where did you take them?
To the Peninsula Hotel.
What time did you arrive at the Peninsula?
The plane was supposed to be in at 6:30. It didn't arrive until about 6:45. I dropped them off at about 7:30,
Are you sure that time?
around there.
Are you sure those times as you are of the times that you've given us for Mr. Simpson?
If not, I know these times a little bit better.
Why do you know this time better?
Because just the way that everything happened, as I called my boss, what time the pickup was, what time he had to be at the airport, what time we left, what time we arrived. It was just more clear to me. With the phone calls and
Well, you had phone calls with this flight. You had
at home,
indication the flight was late.
we were still at home. I was talking to him personally.
After you dropped off these two gentlemen at the Peninsula Hotel, where did you go?
I came back
Came back where?
home.
What time did you get home?
8 o'clock or so.
8 o'clock or so. Did you judge the time by anything?
Just from when I left the Peninsula to the standard time it would take me to get home.
Where you live? I don't need your exact address, but give me
Torrance.
cross streets, if you mind.
182nd and Prairie.
And what did you do when you got home at 8 o'clock?
Well, I had a snack and changed cars and got ready to go.
Where'd you change cars?
At his house.
So you went back to your boss's house across the street?
Yes.
What time did you go there?
Had to have been 9 o'clock or so. Just to talk to him and make sure that Mr. Simpson was still going.
What did he tell you?
He said, yeah, so far he knows that the flight's still on, his pickup.
How much time did you spend with your boss at his house at 1 o'clock?
Well, I don't remember. Just a few minutes.
Then what you did?
Went back home.
How long did you stay home?
Till about 9:45.
What did you do at that time?
Left,
How were you dressed when you left?
just like this, with a coat.
Same exact clothes?
Yeah?
Pardon?
Yes.
Same tie, same shirt, same pants?
Yes.
Same shoes, same socks?
Yes.
And 9:45, you leave your house now to go to Rockingham?
Yes.
Were you given directions to Rockingham by anybody?
By my boss, yes.
What were the directions he gave you?
To go up to 405 until sunset and make a left on Sunset going west, make a right on Rockingham.
And then just go to the address?
Yes.
Did he give you any other specific information as to what to have or what to do when you were picking up Mr. Simpson?
Not that I recall
Are
now.
there some people that like beverages in a car, or newspapers, things like that in the limousine business?
For some people, but he didn't give me any special instructions. There's
So
usually...
just pick him up and take him to the airport?
Yeah.
Did he tell you what flight he was going on?
American Airlines. That was just where to drop him off.
And he gave you that information earlier in the morning, didn't he?
Yes.
Did he tell you what time the flight was leaving?
He just said he had to be at the airport at 11:45 flight.
He gave you the flight number and the information that morning.
I'm not sure if he gave me the flight number. He just said American Airlines is where he usually flies out of.
You didn't clock out with your boss when you left your house to go pick up Mr. Simpson, did you?
No.
And you don't keep any time records where you record the times on a timesheet or anything?
No.
So you're approximating this, are you not?
Yes.
And most of the times that you're talking about, you're approximating.
Yes.
No objection. Withdraw.
Is that the end, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Shapiro, let me just ask you, do you have a substantially more cross-examination for the witness?
Well, that's what I'm reviewing right now, Your Honor.
It might be appropriate for us to take our morning recess at this point in time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
15 minutes. And, Mr. Park, I'm going to ask you, please do not discuss your testimony with anyone except the lawyers involved in this matter.
Your Honor, may I ask you at this point in time, since we're still on direct examination, that you not discuss this case with any lawyers?
I think we're on cross.
We're on cross-examination, that you not discuss this case with any lawyers?
Well, I think that he has a right to speak to the district attorney if he wishes. Obviously, you could question him concerning that if he does in fact speak to the district attorney.
Your Honor, then may I ask you not to take a recess at this time?
All right.
for the argument.
All right, well, you do get to step down at this point, and my admonition still applies. Do not discuss your testimony with anyone. You may speak to the lawyers in this matter. Oh, I'm sorry. Will it be lengthy?
No.
All right, Mr. Park, again, if I can have you just take a seat for a couple of minutes.
The record reflects that Mr. Park looked at me in a very unfriendly way. I will be brief, Mr. Park.
Okay.
Are you vague about the time that you arrived at the 360 Rockingham address, sir?
No.
You know that precisely you arrived at 10:25?
I'm going to object to the form of the question, Your Honor.
On what basis?
That it's leading and suggestive.
Sustained.
The witness already testified to that. How could I be leading?
Well, then it's asked and answered.
It's foundational.
There's no reason for foundation if it's already in the record.
Your question was leading.
Mr. Park, are you vague about the time that you arrived at the 360 Rockingham address on the night of June the 12th?
I'm certain.
And why are you certain?
Because when I arrived and parked, I looked at my watch.
And that time was?
At 10:25.
Is there a clock in the car?
Yes, there is.
And did that clock match up to the time on your watch?
It might be a couple minutes off.
Approximately the correct time?
Yes.
Are you vague about when you called your boss?
Yes.
Are you vague about when you pulled down to the Rockingham gate?
Yes.
What times are you certain of?
I'm certain about... I looked at my watch quite a bit, waiting to pick up. I'm certain about the time I arrived. I'm certain about the time I came up to the Ashford gate and started ringing. I'm certain about the time of the call from my boss.
So you're certain of the time that you arrived at the location, 360 Rockingham?
Yes.
And you're certain about the time that you began to ring the bell at the Ashford gate?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to this. This is going over the same exact testimony that's already been listened to.
No, that's not.
Overruled.
And what time was it that you began to ring the bell that you're certain of?
10:40.
And what time was it that you, and you said, excuse me, strike that, you said you were certain of the time that your boss called you back?
Yes.
And why is that?
Because as he called, I looked at my watch to look at time. He told me to wait until 11:15, so I looked what time it was then to make sure it wasn't 11:15.
So you looked specifically at your watch when he told you to wait until 11:15?
Yes.
And the time was then?
10:55.
And how long after that point that you looked at your watch and saw it was 10:55, that you saw the African-American person who was 6 foot, about 200 pounds, going into the house?
It was a couple minutes. I was on the phone a couple minutes.
And you're certain of that time?
Yes.
Now, you spoke to Mr. Shapiro before you ever spoke to the police or myself in this case, is that correct?
Yes.
You had the interview with him on June the 14th,
From what I remember, yes.
and that was the interview he referred to as being on speakerphone with him?
Yes.
Did you know you were being taped by him at the time, sir?
No, I was never told I was being taped or never asked to be taped.
Mr. Shapiro never told you that he was taping your conversation?
No, never.
And he never asked you permission to tape your conversation?
No, never.
And Mr. Shapiro questioned you about the times during that conversation he had with you on June the 14th? What time you arrived, what time you left?
From what I remember, yes.
And when you spoke to Mr. Shapiro on June the 14th, 1994, you gave him the same times that you've given us in court today, isn't that correct?
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Mr. Shapiro, do you have any further questions?
No, Your Honor.
I think that this time you can safely step down.
Thank you very
And
much.
I remind you not to discuss your testimony. We will take that recess that I mentioned for 15 minutes. All right, we are once again on the record in the case of People versus Simpson. The defendant is present with counsel. The people are represented. Ms. Clark.
Thank you, Your Honor. People call Mr. Brian Kaelin. I'm sorry, Your Honor, 1 minute.
Face the clerk, sir, and raise your right hand.
Sir,
Clerk is right here.
I do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give and the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State and spell your name for the record.
Brian, B-R-I-A-N, Kato, K-A-T-O, Kaelin, K-A-E-L-I-N.
You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Kaelin.
Morning.
Were you acquainted with someone by the name of Nicole Brown Simpson?
Yes.
When did you meet her?
December of '92.
And where was that?
In Aspen, Colorado.
You were friends?
Yes.
Was there a romantic involvement between you?
No.
Do you recall seeing her again in January of 1993?
Yes.
And on what was that occasion?
There was a party
Where?
in her house,
Which was where?
325 Gretna Green
In Brentwood?
in Brentwood.
Now, that particular house, did it have a guest house behind it?
Yes, it did.
Did you see that guest house when you were at the party?
Yes, I did.
Did you like that guest house?
Yes, I did.
Was anyone living at it at the time?
Just furniture. That was it.
Just furniture?
Right. No person.
Did that give you some ideas?
Yes, it did.
What idea was that?
To move in.
And who did you talk to about that?
To Nicole.
Did you ask to move into the guest house?
Yes, I did.
What was your arrangement?
To clean out the guest house and to move in.
So she agreed to let you do that?
Yes, she did.
For paying for rent?
Yes.
And what rent were you paying?
It was $450 to $500. I sometimes took care of the kids, and she would deduct stuff. She was very nice about everything.
So she would give money off your rent in return for you taking care of the
Yeah.
children?
Yes.
Now, she lived in the main house on Gretna Green?
Yes, she did.
And does anybody live there with her?
Sydney and Justin, her children.
Sydney was how old then?
Sydney, 7.
And Justin?
Was, I think, 4.5, 4 3/4, around there.
You've indicated a person you knew, Kennedy-Powell, Simpson, showing you what's been marked as People's 3. Can I ask if you recognize the person shown there?
Yes.
And who is that?
Nicole.
The person you've been referring to today?
Yes.
During that time that you were living on Gretna Green in that guest house, behind the house, did you meet the defendant?
Yes.
And when I say the defendant, do you see someone in court today that I'm referring to? Do you see that person in court?
Yes.
And what is he wearing?
A suit, coat, and tie.
Color of the suit?
Blue, I think. Dark blue.
Indicating the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, the house on Gretna Green, the guest house, was that separated from the main house?
Yes.
And for how long did you live there?
I lived there until January of '94.
What happened in January of '94?
I moved
Why did you move?
because there was another place to move to.
What about Nicole? Did she move?
Yes, she did.
Where did she move to?
She moved to Bundy in Brentwood.
You did not move with her?
I did not move with her.
Had you planned to move with her initially?
Yes.
The Bundy residence, did you see it?
Yes.
Did it have a separate guest house?
No, it did not.
Where were you going to stay?
It didn't have a separate guest house. It had a separate room. It was part of the house, but it was down some stairs.
And so you were going